The Philippines, in the early 20th century, showed great economic potential. It was a leading economy in Asia. Agriculture thrived, particularly in the production of sugar, coconut and hemp. This agricultural success translated into strong export revenues for the young nation. The Philippines, under US administration at the time, also benefited from preferential trade agreements. These agreements gave Filipino products privileged access to the vast US market. This further boosted the Philippine economy, setting it apart as a rising star in the region. The country's strategic location in Southeast Asia also played a significant role in its early economic success. Situated at the crossroads of major shipping routes, the Philippines became a hub for regional trade. Manila, its capital, emerged as a bustling port city, attracting merchants and investors from around the world. This strategic location, combined with its abundant natural resources and skilled workforce, positioned the Philippines as a nation poised for continued economic growth and prosperity. However, this period of economic promise was not without its challenges. The Philippines faced issues of income inequality and rural poverty. The benefits of economic growth were not evenly distributed among the population. A significant portion of Filipinos, particularly those residing in rural areas, remained trapped in poverty. This disparity in wealth distribution would continue to plague the nation in the decades to come. Despite these challenges, the Philippines in the early 20th century stood as a beacon of economic hope in Asia. Its robust agricultural sector, favorable trade agreements and strategic location created a fertile ground for growth. The future seemed bright for the archipelago nation as it continued to strengthen its position as a regional economic leader. The Second World War brought unimaginable devastation to the Philippines, shattering its promising economic trajectory and leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. The Japanese occupation from 1942 to 1945 crippled the nation's infrastructure and industries, leaving deep scars. Farms and factories lay in ruins while cities and towns were scarred by intense fighting and relentless bombings. The war's impact on the Philippine economy was profound, wiping out years of progress and plunging the nation into a state of crisis and uncertainty. The post-war period saw the Philippines embark on a long and arduous journey of recovery, filled with numerous challenges. The United States, recognizing its role in the liberation of the Philippines, provided substantial financial aid through the Philippine Rehabilitation Act of 1946, a crucial lifeline for the struggling nation. This aid, while crucial, was not a quick fix and required careful planning and execution. Rebuilding a war-torn nation required immense effort and resources, as well as the collective will of its people. The Philippines had to reconstruct its infrastructure, revive its industries, and address the widespread poverty and unemployment that plagued its people, a monumental task by any measure. Despite the enormity of the task, the Filipino spirit of resilience shone through, with communities coming together to rebuild their lives. The government, with the support of its people, implemented policies aimed at stimulating economic growth and fostering a sense of hope. These policies focused on import substitution, encouraging local production to reduce reliance on foreign goods and boost the domestic economy. The government also invested heavily in infrastructure projects such as roads, bridges and power plants to create jobs and improve connectivity within the archipelago, laying the foundation for future growth. The 1950s and 1960s witnessed a period of relative economic growth and stability in the Philippines, a testament to the nation's resilience and determination. The agricultural sector, the backbone of the economy, gradually recovered, and new industries began to emerge. However, challenges remained, and the journey was far from over. The country's economic structure remained heavily reliant on agriculture, making it vulnerable to fluctuations in global commodity prices and external economic shocks. Moreover, issues of corruption and inequality persisted, hindering broader economic progress and highlighting the need for continued reform and vigilance. The rule of Ferdinand Marcos from 1965 to 1986 marked a dark chapter in the Philippines' economic history. His tenure, which spanned over 2 decades, left an indelible mark on the nation's economic landscape. What began with promises of economic prosperity quickly descended into an era of crony capitalism, rampant corruption and economic mismanagement. The initial optimism gave way to a harsh reality as the true nature of Marcos's governance became apparent. Marcos, through his authoritarian rule, consolidated his power and that of his allies, granting them control over key industries and sectors of the economy. This centralization of power allowed him to manipulate economic policies to benefit his inner circle. This concentration of wealth and power within a select few had devastating consequences for the Philippine economy. The disparity between the rich and the poor grew wider, creating a society where economic opportunities were limited to a privileged minority. Cronyism and corruption became deeply entrenched, deterring foreign investment and stifling innovation. The lack of transparency and accountability made the Philippines an unattractive destination for potential investors. Businesses that were not aligned with the Marcos regime found themselves at a disadvantage, unable to compete in an uneven playing field. This stifled competition and led to a monopolistic environment where only those with connections thrived. The government's economic policies, often driven by personal gain rather than national interest, led to unsustainable levels of debt and economic instability. The prioritization of short-term gains over long-term stability had dire consequences. The agricultural sector, once the engine of the Philippine economy, suffered under Marcos's policies. Farmers struggled to make ends meet as resources were diverted to benefit the elite. Land reform, intended to redistribute land to landless farmers, was poorly implemented and riddled with corruption. Instead of empowering the rural poor, it further entrenched their hardships. Many farmers found themselves no better off, while Marcos's cronies amassed vast agricultural estates. The promised land reforms turned into a tool for further exploitation. This further exacerbated income inequality and rural poverty, driving many Filipinos deeper into destitution. The rural population bore the brunt of these misguided policies. By the early 1980s, the Philippine economy was in a state of crisis. The cumulative effects of years of mismanagement were becoming increasingly evident. Years of corruption, mismanagement and economic plunder had taken their toll. The nation's resources were depleted and the economy was on the brink of collapse. The country faced mounting foreign debt, runaway inflation and widespread unemployment. The economic indicators painted a grim picture of a nation in turmoil. The gap between the rich and the poor had widened significantly, with a small elite controlling a disproportionate share of wealth. This economic disparity fueled social tension and unrest. The economic decline under Marcos not only eroded the country's economic foundations, but also sowed deep social unrest, setting the stage for the people power revolution that eventually toppled. The people's frustration with economic hardships culminated in a historic movement for change. The ousting of Ferdinand Marcos in 1986 through the People Power Revolution marked a significant turning point for the Philippines, a moment that would reshape the nation's future. The country, now free from the oppressive shackles of authoritarian rule, embarked on a challenging yet hopeful path of democratic and economic recovery. President Corazon Aquino, who ascended to power following Marcos's downfall, inherited an economy in shambles, a daunting task for any leader. Years of rampant corruption and gross mismanagement had left the country burdened with crippling debt, soaring inflation, and a severe lack of investor confidence. Aquino's administration, committed to the arduous task of rebuilding the nation, implemented a series of comprehensive economic reforms aimed at stabilizing the economy and attracting much-needed foreign investment. These reforms included stringent measures to curb corruption, the privatization of inefficient state-owned enterprises, and the liberalization of restrictive trade policies. The government also sought to strengthen democratic institutions and promote good governance, recognizing that a stable and transparent political environment was crucial for sustainable economic growth. The Philippines, in the late 1980s and early 1990s, actively sought to integrate itself into the burgeoning global economy. The country joined the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, in 1987, signaling its strong commitment to regional cooperation and economic integration. ASEAN membership provided the Philippines with access to a larger, more dynamic market for its goods and services, as well as numerous opportunities for foreign direct investment, which were crucial for economic development. The government also pursued bilateral and multilateral trade agreements with other countries, further opening up the Philippine economy to the global market. Despite these concerted efforts, the Philippines' economic recovery remained fragile in the early 1990s. The country faced a myriad of challenges, including a severe power crisis, devastating natural disasters, and continued political instability, all of which hampered progress. The Asian financial crisis of 1997 to 1998 dealt a further blow to the Philippine economy, highlighting its vulnerability to external economic shocks. However, the Philippines weathered the storm better than many of its neighbors, demonstrating a remarkable degree of resilience that would serve it well in the years to come, laying the groundwork for future growth and stability.